Okay, so in addition to playing specific decks that viewers send in, I also do what I refer to as build-around submissions, where someone submits a card, group of cards, or a concept, and I try to construct a deck within the confines that they've given me to see if we can try and develop something that could be competitive. So this build-around submission is actually kind of sweet. It was a request for a green-red control deck where Klothys was one of our win conditions, and I actually think Klothys is just an excellent card in this format right now. She's very difficult to take off the table for a lot of decks. You know, there aren't a ton of Ugins in the format. Like, some blue-white decks have, like, Cast Out and Commit, but even those are, like, temporary solutions to Klothys being a permanent problem. Klothys hits both players' graveyards, so against rogues, Klothys can help keep your graveyard light. Against decks like Phoenix and Arcanus, Klothys is a piece of main deck graveyard hate for them. So just like buffers your life total, burns people out, offers utility, poking at the graveyard. That's a resource that people use in this format. So I think having this card be a centerpiece in a deck seems very reasonable right now. Now, what other controlling elements can we have in Gruul? So something like Sweltering Suns and Abrade and Bonecrusher Giant, excellent ways to keep the board in check. Chandra generates card advantage while also interacting with the board. Glorybringer and Nissa are both cards that can help us close out the game. But for example, I've chosen Nissa Vital Force here at the top end, as opposed to something like World Waker, or Nissa Who Shakes the World, because Nissa Vital Force provides utility. She can pick cards back up out of our bin for us. She can generate card advantage as she goes along. One thing that's sweet about this Planeswalker is she goes up the turn you play her, and then she can actually ultimate the turn after. Green-red gets a cantrip now. I think Abundant Harvest is probably the best cantrip in this format. And then one other question to cover is, I've got some copies of Gilded Goose here at the bottom, and I've elected to play this as opposed to Mindstone or Land War Elves. Not only because it provides a little bit of fixing, you know, I do have like a red card like this. It's a touch awkward with this in the creature matchups, but also at the same time, like, this making food isn't irrelevant. So, you know, think of this as a card that can accelerate us to some of our things ahead of curve, but it can also just, like, give us some stabilization and staying power as games go long against things like Gruul, you know? Think about how many times you like your control deck or mid-range deck like kind of stabilizes against Gruul, and then they like peel a haste creature or peel a Bonecrusher Giant and kill you. The foods from this can help you hopefully not have that happen. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this and see if this concept is more meme or dream. BT Dubs, I've got it in the stream title, but I stayed up way too late last night getting the core of historic decks updated on my website. So if you're newer to my content or don't recall those from when I was last doing Magic stuff, it's a great resource for finding historic decks. I've got them sorted on the base page by what I determined to be their power level. And then you could also search based on color and archetype and things using the navigation. This is a viewer submission for a build-around deck conscript. I think our opponent might be playing red-white mid-range, speaking of decks on my website. I'm going to go ahead and just drop Klothys here and get her grinding them out. Speaking of answers, that is a good one. Can you touch on something like Scrabbling Claws over Lantern? Yeah, Scrabbling Claws. So that's something that I think is going to come up a lot in this format. We talked about this a little bit yesterday too, is Scrabbling Claws is a card that That's what I'm searching for. Scrabbling Claws is a card that is better against rogues because Scrabbling Claws can let you exile cards out of your own graveyard. And another thing that Scrabbling Claws lets you do is Scrabbling Claws lets you draw a card when you exile something. So, for example, you know, Lantern makes you choose between whether or not you want to... Lantern makes you choose between whether or not you're cantripping it or interacting with their graveyard. So against something like, say, Magma Opus, where you really only need to exile one card, Scrabbling Claws is much better. And thanks for the 2 months, Gazi Games. Thanks for the follows, Lamb and Blue Kid. Alright, so... Is it crazy to just try and race here? So remember, Glorybringer can't kill dragons, so I can't do this on this. I think I'm just doing this and attacking for 7. Because, like, if they want to hit Chandra again here, they're, like, losing this race by a lot, right?
I don't need this.
Goodbye. Crunch. And if this is a blank, they're dead. Actually, they're just dead on board, right? Because of Banger. Alright, so they're dead. Control deck doesn't mean 0 win conditions, chat. It means you control the board. And we definitely controlled the board there. We interacted with a bunch of their stuff. Soul Sear for their dragon sounds great. It could be a Chandra matchup, just because we're kind of going long and big. Sweltering Suns doesn't seem super exciting here. You trim like a goose. I don't really need to go fast here. I don't necessarily need to see that. So, Ceratops blocks, but it's also a 4-mana card that dies to Glorybringer, so I don't really think I'm into that. That doesn't sound particularly exciting. Yeah, the latest blue-white control iterations with Hero of Dominar has given control a really bad name. Back in my day, control decks had Grave Titan, chat, and things like that to actually mean the game ended before you died of old age. When you board in Roiling Vortex, Emergent Ultimatum decks. Even Celestial Colonnade decks are pretty slow in terms of how fast they kill you. To be fair. So I can step on PV in response here, and then we'll be able to Bonecrusher next turn. Was Morphling a good control finisher? I didn't play back then. I know Aetherling wasn't a good control finisher. I don't know. You know, both these decks have good mid-range control-y tools. It's hard to know really which side of the matchup I'd rather be on without having played it out a bunch. Aetherling was fantastic in RTR. It wasn't, though. The good Magic players weren't playing Aetherling. If you were playing Aetherling in RTR Standard, it meant that you were a coward. It was not game theory optimal to play Aetherling in that format. The good Magic players were not playing Aetherling. Is Roiling Vortex also getting in Gear Hulk decks? Yeah, it's probably fine there. I'm gonna go ahead and cycle this. I guess we could get into trouble if I don't draw another land, but yeah, pretty likely to draw some more lands. Your win con was Elixir of Immortality. Yeah, you had a couple of what's it called too. You had a couple of copies of Mutavault too, usually.
I know who I am, and no one is telling Palm. Looks like someone's getting a little sweaty.
Getting a little sweaty over there. Want to get sweaty with Chandra, friendo? Yeah, I agree. I'm looking forward to Zendikar. Zendikar's not only going to give us Squidbillies, Thought-Knot Seers, and Reality Smashers, but it'll also give us Shambling Vents and Lumbering Falls and friends. Sure, we're on the draw. I lied, we're on the play. This card's so good at helping you play enough lands, but also, like, not having too few. Get her down here. Evil one-legged Seagal. Thanks for the Prime support. There's a ton of great people you can send that to every single month here on Twitch. Thanks for sending your Bezo bucks this way this month. That is a lesson, sure. I mean, Bring to Light Niv's very good in... Bring to Light Niv is very good in Pioneer, so I assume it'll be good in Historic. I actually put the Energy Niv deck we've been playing a bit up on the website already. That build is super reasonable. Huh? And then do this and just start poking their life total. She technically makes mana for us for next turn.
The best fires. Yup, you're going down.
It was funny. I was watching another streamer play in higher Mythic last night, and they kept lamenting the fact that their opponents were playing seemingly random piles of Magic cards in Mythic, and it was like, well, yeah, that's just how Historic works. It's a real shame we didn't draw a land. If we'd drawn a land, I would have been able to go Chandra into Sweltering Suns here. We just do this and then this anyways. I don't really know what the opponent's doing, just like Abzian stuff. Now the real question is, what are they doing with this mana?
It's my turn.
Remember, Glorybringer cannot kill this. It's a dragon.
Time to toast your marshmallows. S'mores, anyone?
Morning Slayer.
This was a waste of my time.
She does have a lot of great voice lines. Up. So I think I'm gonna trim the geese because Sweltering Suns is good here, but they also don't seem to be particularly aggressive. My preferred Sedgemoor Witch deck. I like Green-Black Magecraft. The Mardu deck was good too, but the Green-Black one was a little bit sweeter. And the Green-Black deck is one of the many decks you can find up on my website now. Search for mid-range decks up there, and you'll find it. Or search for green and black decks. Got 16 things, and to give context to how great Historic is, like, I've got 16 different decks up on the website to start, and I've got another artwork for half a dozen I didn't get time to put together pages for yet. I probably want these to help me kill their dragon. And with me taking time to add some decks to the queue, you'll notice up there in the proven section, I've got pages for Gruul, Rogues, and Auras already. I'm going to make a point to play each of those decks in the coming weeks, and I'm going to try and keep a list of the tiered decks that are proven up there as well. We've always had the proven section, but usually it was kind of sparsely populated. I'm gonna change it from being just a home for my deck list that people submit that are sweet to kind of a universal Historic decks page. Nice Inquisition. Let me just step on you real quick here. Enjoy your peekaboo. Yeah, that's what it'll serve as too, Todd Turkey. It'll be the tiered deck list will be my preferred iterations of those archetypes based on my experience in the format. Yeah, remember, I raised the price of deck submissions with the goal of having the queue not always be full. And for a while after I came back, it wasn't always full. There was just so much hype around the mystical archives that we had just a giant pile of deck submissions. So we'll still be playing some amount of viewer submissions, I'm sure, but just not, all day every day. Yeah, I probably play more Historic than most people, Nathan, so I'm pretty well suited to be able to pick out decks for something like that. What else am I going to add to the site? I've got a list of things that I've already got artwork for. I'm going to add most of the tiered decks up there. Like, I think Green-White Company is the only tiered list I'm missing at this point that I consider top tier. Oh, Veto. That's cute. Isn't Historic the only format on Arena? Well, technically. Do I want to glory? I think I kind of want to Chandra off a Chandra here, huh? Hey, Elwin, thanks for the 38 months. Welcome back. And if I do this, I can actually Abundant Harvest this turn too.
Let's start at a sizzle and see if you make it to the
Let's go ahead and just
Inferno.
down tick 3 this way to kill Veto, I think.
Glad I could help with your not being on fire problem.
Should add Grixis to the best decks to try and scam your audience. No, I put Grixis Control where it belongs in the fan favorite section, chat. Remember, chat, just because they're not in the proven section doesn't mean they're not playable. It just means they haven't posted results yet. There's descriptions of each of my categories up there. But like even the fan favorite decks, even the fan favorite decks are still very competitive under the right circumstances. Gruul doesn't really have many new cards. And again, if you want to see my preferred iteration of Gruul, you could go up on my website now. Click historic decks, look in the proven category. They're all listed up there.
This will be easy.
It'll be, you know, just think about how many people you've seen come into chat over the last week and be like, Jeff, which red-white mid-range are you talking about? Now I have an easy reference point for people when they ask questions like that. Yeah, I mean, the decks, you can make Mythic with any of the decks on the site. I think it's just also important to set realistic expectations for what those decks are. Yeah, I agree, Prospic.
Yep.
I'll decline this and just play a dragon and attack them. Oh, they're actually just dead, right? Because Klothys gets to attack. Do you have a preferred Esper control list? No. No experience with that archetype, but it's not really established in the format. I made Mythic with a modified blue-black Cuneo list. I needed a shower after. Yeah, Treasure Flare's great. Treasure Flare's still up there in the meme section. I need to get Tybalt Trickery and Sultai Citadel Storm added to the meme section. Luris the Dream Den. Do I keep Sweltering Suns? Let's do it. Let's write to Mulligan for Klothys against Luris. We trade Artifact Aggro. We are actually going to play Tempered Steel later today, I think. We can dodge a memory lapse, we can dodge a ball. Looking like we're bad at dodgeball today, champ. This is why I've got Scrabbling Claws on the board past our 4 copies of Klothys. Alright, second verse, same as the first. Deal. We played the Citadel Storm deck we started with Tendrils I didn't like Tendrils. Tendrils felt unnecessary. It felt like a worse win con than the other tools. Yeah, I'm planning to put Dragon Reanimator in the fan favorite section. I've already commissioned artwork for it. I've got artwork commissioned for like another half a dozen things. I just didn't have time to put them up. I was up till almost 1 a.m. working on the website last night, which is much past my bedtime. All right, do we just jam a dragon here? Just jam a dragon. Yeah, Klothys is very good in this matchup. Fatal push this one. Glorybringer can swim, and you can't push it off a cliff yet. Taking him to Dragon Pound Town. Again, want to prioritize taking things out of our graveyard in this matchup. Ah, my favorite anime. Glorybringer Z. I'm just gonna put this into play tapped here, I think. Pass the turn. I guess there could have been merit to taking their Thought Thief there, but like, if they like Luris Thought Thief next turn, we just Sweltering Suns, right? Klothys is here making sure everybody can swim. This deck's probably got a nuts rogues matchup between Klothys and its sweepers. Nah, I think we just keep these, right? This card's just insane here. I'll cycle this. Alright, so Goose out, Wilt out, Nissa Vital Force out, uncounterable spells in, Graveyard Hate in. I think this is a Soul Sear matchup, huh? Is it crazy to cut Chandra? They can attack her down? They'll have some Aether Gust post board that can take Klothys off the table, then they can mill her. I think this configuration looks pretty trim, right? We're like Graveyard Hate and big threats. Atheist Prodigy, not much to say other than great content and thanks for getting me through 14 months of March. Thanks for the quarter-of-a-year Prime. Welcome back. Well, they don't have anything big enough that Abrade doesn't kill. I would just consider this what I call an all Doomblades on deck matchup, where we basically want to kill every threat they put into play. So I want every one of my cards that can be a removal spell effectively here. Yeah, I just want to be able to kill all the things. Like, maybe you could argue this is better than this for that purpose then, but like, this is more expensive and sorcery speed is the issue. Oh, Panda, I meant to ask you. You wanted your Jeskai deck played as soon as possible, right? If so, it'll be up after this one. But if you prefer it played at a later date, let me know. We can coordinate that. But if you just want it played ASAP, it can be the second deck today. Evil One-Legged Seagull, we primed a little bit ago. Thanks for the follow. Is the Soul Sear indestructible part relevant a lot? No, not usually. We're mostly just playing Soul Sear because Red has a hard time dealing with things that have 4+ toughness. So, and indestructibility there is mostly flavor text. You'll occasionally kill something like a Hazoret or a Rowanus. For the most part, that's not why you're playing the card. Well, I did retool the build you sent in a little bit. I changed around some of the details. I fixed your mana base was really off. I retooled the mana base completely last night. Heartless Act or something here. They're fatal pushing their thing so they can fatal push my Ceratops. That's great. You love to see it, chat. You love to see it. The classic 3-for-1. You get a fatal push, and you get a fatal push. Everybody gets a fatal push. They couldn't block, chat, Ceratops' protection from blue. What a weird build your own innocent blood that was. Yeah, exactly. They know I have Sweltering Suns. They have another Fatal Push and they just like need me to play the Sweltering Suns? They must, right? Alright, we're gonna start by attacking. Well, I guess if I start by attacking, they get to block. Yeah, this is bad. And I missed some damage, probably. They might also have Fatal Push, though. But if they had Push, they should have done it on their turn, right? Yeah, I just missed my attack. Yeah, I'm silly. It'll be okay. We give him a 5-point handicap, chat. This card's really good in this format. Lot of Gandalfs and rogues. Do you have any suggestions for best course of action over the last couple hours to be in the top 1200 apart from just win? Not losing is also solid advice. So had I not sequenced poorly, they'd have died there. But I did sequence poorly, so they are at 5 now. It's sweet, too, that we're, like, having this game here where it seems like we're ahead without having drawn Klothys early. Or did we draw Klothys and it got countered? Yeah, we drew Klothys and it got countered. Because, like, obviously the games where we have Klothys in this matchup are easy. Or discarded, you're right. It was Inquisition or Thoughtseize, right? Yeah, you're right. They all float down here, chat. Sweet. So they're dead. Shifty boys, chat. Shifty boys. Look, I'm not gonna say we broke it, but we are currently undefeated. I'm not one to make strong statements, but clothesline them. Opponents rank 200. Most of the competitive decks in this format are Loris decks at this point. Most of the top tier decks, I should say. Not all competitive, but... Rogues with Rune Crab in Historic is interesting. A lot of the Rogues builds have eschewed this card. Nice one for down the line. How Tainted Pack was breaking Historic. I mean, to be fair to the person that published the clickbait thing you're talking about there, I do think that, I do genuinely think that the Tainted Pack deck is the most difficult to interact with combo deck in the format, and it can kill you on turn 4, so like, it's pretty good. Yeah, our tap plans might mean we're too slow here. Really needed to play a meaningful spell last turn. We're gonna get drowned or memory elapsed here and then put into oblivion. I don't know that we can beat the Curious Obsession on here. See if we get an untapped land here and get a little bit lucky with the Glorybringer, but I would bet this game's probably into garbage time at this point. I don't really think it's any more unhealthy than most of the other things that are going on in the format. I do think it's an excellent argument for why Winota should be legal in this format. In fact, I tweeted last night that my exact quote, I believe, was, I don't think Tainted Pack is format breaking or too strong, but it's another turn 4 combo deck that means Winota should be legal. Like, they keep Winota banned while simultaneously continuing to introduce more things that kill on turn 4. Heartless Act here or something? Yeah. I mean, that's another point too that's excellent. They added what's it called to the format? Muxus after banning Winota, and they keep adding more turn 3 and turn 4 kills to the format while leaving her banned. We are a Winota version of the Twin Stoneforge Mystic emote. Do I not have Winota behind bars? We don't. Maybe I got rid of it. I'm pretty sure my graphics guy did me a Winota behind bars at one point. Yeah, we had one, right? I must have swapped it out when we were on my magic break. Yeah, I thought I remember it. Look, I'll look back through my email and we can upload it again. I really just I really don't understand how you could be opposed to cards like Field of the Dead when there's so many things that kill you on turn 4 and 5 in this format. Like, Field of the Dead is way less miserable than Teferi Time Raveler, chat. Or than Teferi Hero of Dominaria. Like, whenever people are like, no, that card can't be legal, I hate it. Like, people hate most Magic cards. Magic's a very polarizing game. Like, I dislike this card is not a reason to keep it banned. I dislike half the cards in the game. Come on now. Yeah, and that's another point too, right? Like, they added Stone Rain and like all these other effects. Oh man, we are about to end their whole career, chat. Think this is a concession, Sweltering Suns? What do we think? I got you, Float Mana. Solid work over the course of a few days there. I'm literally playing Ponza right now. Yeah, Field of the Root is fine. Or Field of the Dead is fine. practically only a 3-for-1 chat. So, my graveyard has so many cards in it at this point, I think I'm exiling out of their bin, so that way their Luris becomes worse. I think is the plan. Hopefully they don't concede that quickly in the third game if we're ahead, because I don't plan to beat them. They're ranked 200. I just want them to play a game for our entertainment so we can see how our matchup is against rogues, but if we're going to win, I don't plan on beating anybody that's near the top 1200 the last few days. If they concede quickly, I can't help it. I see I need some lands, but our deck's got a lot of those in it. And again, this matchup is where this card is better than something like Lantern, because Scrabbling Claws lets me do this. Oh god, I'm probably gonna have to turn off gameplay warnings. There's no way I want to click through that every time. It's unfortunate they started on 2 X3s and I've got a Bonecrusher Giant in hand. Huh. Please brick on a land. If they counter the Soul Sear, we're probably in garbage time again. That's technically a brick. They've been holding this Fabled Passage, which makes me think they have a Fatal Push. Hello, Declan. You're done all for the day already?
It's a really short day.
Wednesday is a short day. It's pretty cool. It is, yep. It's kind of like you, really short. You're not that short?
I'm about half of you.
Half of me? You're bigger than Haley, right?
For me.
2 Haleys equal you. Man, I really hope this version of I really hope the version of this deck that our opponent's playing doesn't become the norm. I don't know that Rune Crab's necessarily better, but it feels like approximately 90% more miserable to lose to this deck while they're milling you. The fact that the other established builds are just tempo decks and are just like kind of using the graveyard. So the 5 months, Moon Boots, welcome back. Yeah, we're down to 20 cards in the deck here. Crab is like the standard build, Silence, from the standard format. It's hard to see them on a 32-inch screen. Like, so I've got them on a 27-inch screen. They look fine. Maybe I could consider making the page wider. I'm actually not familiar how to do that with my WordPress theme. WordPress is mostly me flopping around trying to figure things out myself. I'm not particularly successful at it. I think making the whole page wider is probably a better idea than making specifically the banners bigger. Instant attack. Can we draw an untapped land? And there are untapped lands left to draw in my deck as my opponent mills. Mills too. Honestly, I should probably start milling them. I assume anything we're casting here that's not Chandra doesn't resolve. And like, we're getting milled for 3 off of this, and then 3 next turn, and then probably 3 off of a land in their hand. If we'd have hit Chandra this turn, I think we probably win with 13 cards left and her ticking up, but on 7 cards, them having all their mana this turn, I assume we're too far gone. I mean, end of the story doesn't really matter at this point. It's more about the tempo. Like, this isn't like Chandra's worth a ton of their cards. If Chandra would have happened last turn, it doesn't matter how many cards they have. The tempo of Chandra coming down last turn would have put this game into an unwinnable position for them. Whereas now, Rogues is way worse than Mono Blue. Anybody that thinks Rogues is comparable to Mono Blue doesn't understand why Rogues is good. Mono Blue offers lots of meaningful counterplay because Mono Blue doesn't play to the board the same way Rogues does. Pretty typical control deck problems. That third game had Bonecrusher Giant, and they drew 3 toughness things, and then we missed a land drop to lose ultimately. That's about par for the control deck course. It's our 4th Lurrus deck in a row. Honestly, this card probably shouldn't be legal. Really, and we'll see how these non-rotating format. I mean, they are all different Lurrus decks, but like it's still a huge problem. I don't know, huge is maybe an over. It's still a problem. Yeah, when they adjusted the companions, I think they should have definitely just banned Lurrus and Yorion. Yeah, I was putting together the list of tiered decks for my website last night, and almost every good deck is a Lurrus deck. It's all Lurrus decks all the way down. There's a range of them, but they're all the cat. Orn and BJ. I mean, I still have the opinion that companions are great. They just they missed on 2 of them. It's a good draw. I mean, like, even here, like, these decks aren't unbeatable. Like, I would bet with our pile of Klothys, we probably don't have a terrible matchup here. He says before getting double thought seized. These decks exist, Thoughtlers? Yeah, definitely. They look different, and they play a slightly different selection of cards. They no longer have to restrict themselves to play this card. Yeah, they get more varied and have some higher cost things. This is exactly the case. No discard spell in there, right? So let's guess this. Yeah, and your Chandra draws a Chandra for later. Chandra hitting Abundant Growth has felt good so far. Agreed. At least Klothys will get to take that out of the bin. I mean, we're technically winning this race, right? Like, by a lot. Yeah, when you're timed out, Twitch extensions don't work. It's definitely true. That's not something I have control over.
This'll be easy.
We do green-black spellcraft again. We definitely can, Scissor. Thanks for the biddies. Very generous of you. The 2 best companions are the free card that provides more cards. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. Grid.
I am out of
Hey, Grid. Thanks for the follow. Welcome to the channel today. So, I probably want to prioritize taking their things that they can recast with Lurrus here now. So let's take I think we take the Witherbloom Apprentice to start because that's the one that helps them gain life and race me. Ah, this is some sequencing here. Yeah. Yeah, the old oops, I've realized by mistake. Let's move on. Alright, so we got some graveyard cards here. This is... I want this to sweep the board. I probably want this. I feel like this is just an always to kill Arcanist on deck matchup. Is it crazy to trim some Bonecrusher Giants? Roiling can hurt them a lot. Roiling only really hurts them if they have Arcanist chat, and they can just choose not to cast spells with Arcanist. And, like, we're going to be in racing situations where Roiling Vortex hammering my life total could be relevant. This is basically exclusively a sideboard slot for Emergent Ultimatum. I don't think it comes in anywhere else. Yeah, Bonecrusher is just whatever. Why not Nissa Who Shakes the World? Because Nissa Who Shakes the World is a linear one-dimensional card. All she does is attack. This deck's looking to be a little bit more mid-rangey and controlling, and Nissa that we're playing is flexible. She generates card advantage by picking threats and answers back up from our bin, and she ultimates to generate card advantage in the control matchup. She also doesn't get a bunch of your lands killed by a Wrath of God against blue-white control. We're also not looking to ramp to anything in this deck. Like the top end of our curve is 5. So like by the time you like play Nissa Who Shakes the World, like you already have enough mana. So you don't leverage her static text either. Another thing our Nissa does is our Nissa hits for 5 the turn you play her, which means if your opponent plays Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, you can play Nissa plus Nissa, kill Teferi right away in that turn sequence. Hand looks good. Needs another land, but we're on the draw. Ha! I boarded my Wilts out. It's cute. I guess they just board this in to preempt things like Grafdigger's Cage. Make sure we get Abundant Harvest here. Activate this now so they can't escape cracks the next turn. Well, this is a control deck, but it's not a Gandalf deck. We are not a Dirtle do nothing control deck. I agree, Precipic. I don't think it's close either. Confident that Abundant Harvest is the best cantrip in the format. The best card selection, 1 mana card selection. Red Iron and really good TV. Thanks for the follows, by the way. Welcome to the channel this morning. So they're at 6 cards to the bin. So if I do this, they could escape a Croxa next turn. I think I'm okay with that, though. I don't really want them to have Pyromancer. Yeah, Faithless Looting is very much a high rolly card in this format, in my experience. When it's good, it's great, but its average to bad case scenarios are really mediocre. Jaren Wolf, good morning. The big thing people don't seem to understand about Scrabbling Claws. Could a mod make a command for Scrabbling Claws? Because people just don't understand it. So, the Scrabbling Claws does two things different than Soul Guide Lantern. Scrabbling Claws 1 exiles graveyards without the activation, so it applies pressures to graveyards while you're going. The second thing Scrabbling Claws does is it always draws a card. With Soul Guide Lantern, you have to choose between whether you're drawing a card and whether you're exiling their graveyard. And the fact that this one gets to do both of those things is also valuable. I mean, you're like the 6th person to ask that today, so it's getting a command because you're far from the first. I mean, anything people ask consistently deserves a command. A lot of people, I feel like, have written this card off as, oh, this is bad Lantern, when really it's different Lantern. As is often the case in Magic, people always try to pigeonhole things into strictly better, strictly worse, when the reality is, oh, this is just different. The build around for this was a green-red controlling deck with Klothys as a centerpiece. Glorybringer is really good at reminding people that they should not be playing Fatal Push. Excellent tool at reminding people that. I mean, Scrabbling Claws is situationally worse against a few things. If you want to be exiling your opponent's entire graveyard and they're putting lots of cards into their graveyard very quickly, Scrabbling Claws is much worse than Lantern. So, what it likely comes down to is, what decks does the deck that you're playing care about? Huh? Step on this before they abandon a pump. Jund, but no Luris this time. Relic would be nice. I think that would be a good addition to the format. Agree.
Yup, you're going down. Hey, over here. Oh, today's my lucky day. Oh, this is gonna hurt.
Untapped land! Untapped land! They have a way to deal with this dragon. We're gonna die to this Chandra ult. Is there enough Graveyard Hate and Historic at this point to allow Dredge? I just hope they don't. I think that's a silly question. I think Dredge is just a shitty design, and I hope it's not allowed into the format. Just because there's kind of answers doesn't mean those play patterns that it creates are okay and good. I also don't think I really need to ask that to not happen, because especially with the addition of. Unfortunate. Especially with, well, we're getting Delve. I don't think Delve is inherently problematic. I think Delve being problematic is a byproduct of fetch lands being a shit tier toxic design. Need to draw a Stomp here. You ever played much with Dredge? Why does it suck? Dredge basically is, you're just flipping coins to see if you have your sideboard cards post-board. It's an incredibly powerful, very one-dimensional design that requires narrow, specific answers to be good. To be good against it. Sorry, finish the thought. For reference, Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time are both legal in Pioneer still, when they're banned in every fetch land format. Just like, context is key like most things. Bring in our threats here. Fetch lands were legal with Dig Through Time and Cruise and Standard. Yeah, that's HR Beck there. When I'm actually working, so I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be doing those top 5 Magic videos, at least one per week. And I'm going to be putting out a couple that are talking about some of my favorite cards and different card types I like to see added to Historic. And the focus around all of them is going to be, what value does this add to the format? Not, is this broken? Because, and this is a really radical idea, but I'm a radical leftist, chat. I believe games should be fun. So the number one question I think you should always be asking yourself when making a change is, does this change make the game more fun on average? And yeah, Dredge would make the game more fun for a very small subset of people, but the average case results of adding Dredge to a format does not make it more fun for most people. Yes, cards and mechanics to not add to the format. That's a good idea. Oh, you know what? We saw Maze Mind Tome and I boarded out my Abrades, I think. Oh, right. The view sideboard button doesn't work in games 2 and 3 because on Magic Arena, they only think about best of 1. It's really kind of frustrating, too, because, like, the number one use of the view sideboard button is, like, being able to remember how you sideboarded mid-game. So, like, these are all in my deck right now for sure, and so is she. This is my starting sideboard. It legit feels like the test cases that they're writing don't include historic, or don't include best of 3. Well, I don't think that's the programmers don't understand what they're programming. I think it's that their unit tests didn't include, if they have unit tests, if they have QA engineers and they're allowed to do unit tests. There could be some confusion about that being true or not. It seems like they just don't have best of 3 ranked as a priority in figuring those out. Oh, I think we're dead, chat fam. Our hand started off well here, but yeah, the amount of regressions. And for people that aren't software development, a regression is when you reintroduce a bug that you'd previously fixed. makes me think they probably don't have automated tests, at least not enough of them. Spicy Dad, I always resub to the radical leftist Jeff Hoagland, God bless. Yeah, I agree. That is exactly my feeling, Turnpike Bear. Historic feels like a format where they're trying to right their wrongs of past non-rotating formats, and they don't have sacred cows to deal with in this format. They don't have cards that people are like, no, you can't get rid of fetch lands. You can't get rid of Grudge. They're part of the format's identity, Jeff. As a CS senior, I can assure you my software is only ever smoke tested. I think we just Glorybringer here, kill the Spellbreaker, hit the Chandra. Well, and that's why getting Faithless Looting and Brainstorm is so sweet in this format, because like Faithless Looting should have been banned in Modern, and Brainstorm should be banned in Legacy if they cared. But this is a format where you get to play with those sweet cards that people like, but it doesn't appear to be that they're overtuned in the current card pool. And that could change as the card pool grows. But like, again, I think Historic's focus as a what is Historic as a format should be that as an identity, basically. It should be people, it should be Wizards asking, how do we get these cards that people love casting into the format in a way that's not offensive, in a way that's not, that probably shouldn't be legal. I think looting could eventually be broken. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see if it survives, the delve cards could maybe put it over the top. I think if the delve cards don't break it, it's probably fine. Well, we're not guaranteed to get Lingering Souls, press a pick. I agree that Lingering Souls would push it. Lingering Souls is not, yeah, I think we're ahead here in this game at the moment. Klothys is pressuring them, and I've got a bunch of hasty boys. They've got 4 life in the tank here, but I got a lot of 5/4s. After working 3 14-hour days in a row, I left a debug in something that got pushed to production. So over-pushing by management can cause stupid problems as well. Sure. I don't know. I feel like debug code getting left in is probably less offensive than shifting out regressions, though, right? Like, obviously there's give and take in everything. But like, if I were to rate having a random debug bit, unless it like completely savages performance, I could Chandra and Ceratops, but then I can't haste it. And I think it's important that I dome them for 5 here. So, we've talked about this with Death Shadow before. I don't think fetch lands are what is keeping Death Shadow from being good. I think the reason why Death Shadow hasn't taken over the format is because of a lack of cards like Street Wraith. No, it's not Stubborn Denial either. Street Wraith is low-key the most important thing about Death Shadow. It is the best enabler for that archetype, but it's not close. Yeah, that's the card that pushed Shadow up and over. Obviously fetch lands are also good. But Street Wraith is like the big one. I don't know, the bolt lands do like a pretty okay close impersonation. Hey look, we found a use for extra Klothys. Okay, so we get to target their Kroxa, and then they scoos their Kroxa. Most people don't play Street Wraith in Modern Shadow these days. They would if they could. Okay, so here's the other thing. Cards that are more busted can push other busted things out. So you're right, the Luris Shadow decks don't play Street Wraith. That's because they're playing Luris instead.
To finish you.
I don't know if I could have killed them there or not. I didn't check if I could kill them there. I didn't do the maths.
It's over when I say it's over.
Opponent's putting up a fight.
Reduced to embers.
I think we just trade Ceratops for Chevelle and 2 damage, right? The no block concession, God bless. Sweet. That game was looking a little sketch to start, but we pulled it out. I think I want these Abrades with their what's it called? Their Chevelles and stuff too. They have Spellbreaker also. I mean, Nissa's probably not good enough on the draw. This deck needs more mythics. Listen, chat. I don't consider the rarity of cards when I put them into a deck list. We just put the cards in that look reasonable. You could argue this deck is thick Gruul, so the more mythics it plays, the better it is. See, that's a much better argument. Oh, season's past. I spent way too much time losing with that card over the years. There's a name I haven't heard in a long time. You've accumulated thousands of commons and uncommon wild cards. What are you supposed to do with them? So, when the next set releases, I'm up to about 800 uncommon wild cards too, I believe. Every 2 to 3 sets, what you have to do is you have to craft every common and uncommon in the set before you start opening packs. So that way you start accumulating progress with the first booster pack you open, because your 3rd and 4th commons and uncommon, or your 5th commons and uncommons go towards vault progress. And if you have all commons and uncommons crafted, one booster pack is 1% vault progress. So what it allows you to do is get 1% vault progress per booster pack you open. So you should do that every couple of whatevers. I got a Sweltering Suns the Storko here. Why do you think Toxic Deluge would be unreasonable in this format? I don't know. It's a turn 3 sweeper, but it hurts your life total in a meaningful way. I never felt like that card was unreasonable when I played with it against it in Legacy, but it's been a long time too. Morning Minus, thanks for the follow. I'm a big fan of Damnation not existing in the format. If I would have been making the one making the decision, I wouldn't have put Wrath of God in this format, but we can't put that genie back in the model at this point. Yeah, I think Shatter's fine. Shatter has a drawback. Unfortunately, I have to cash Chandra in here for a kill your Spellbreaker gain 4.
Utterly is the best way to destroy things.
Need to draw another useful spell or two here. Glorybringer would be great. Opponent unfortunately still has 5 cards in hand though, so like, unless they're also on a bunch of lands, we're probably dead here. I'm making a video about that, Joe Steak. There's a lot of good choices. Rune Blaster, yep. One dragon, please.
You're gonna be sorry when I come back.
Alright, I mean, there's like non-dragon draws go, it's pretty decent. If they have a land or two here, we have a real shot. Just play Jund good cards, Jund Tradebinder, whatever you want to call it. One shifty boy, chat. Thunk. Actually gonna play this land out here. I don't really think bluffing has value, and they could croc set out of my hand at some point. At least this doesn't kill us quickly. Yeah, with the addition of Memory Lapse and Inquisition of Kozilek, Snapcaster Mage is definitely a card that should not be introduced to this format. I know that that's a card that people like casting, myself included, but I really don't want to get Snapcaster Memory Lapse. That sounds miserable. Torrential Gearhulk is fine. Fat Caster Mage is good enough. This is fine. Feel like we accomplished the goal of what we were looking to set out to do. Klothys is a really excellent finisher / disruptive card in this format. We had an okay smattering of interaction among other things. Glorybringer continues to be impressive in decks that we put it in as well. This is one of the headlining cards of the red-white mid-range deck we've played on stream, and I think it's just pretty reasonable in the format. You know, things like Fatal Push are pretty common in this format, and this being a 5, dodging that's a pretty big deal. I think this is definitely the best 5-mana Haste Dragon the format has to offer. Being able to generate card advantage, even if it's only every other turn with this, is very potent and powerful. Did Klothys make mana in this set? No, it didn't at all. Doing alright, Gout.